There's only one way this war ends. Last man standing.
What the hell are you doing, Lance Corporal? No! No! No!
If you fail, it will be a massacre.
Bienvenidos a una nueva edición de En Cartelera, aquí por la pantalla de Canal C. Esta semana tenemos un detrás de escena de lo que es un estreno que ha llegado a los cines de la República Argentina el pasado jueves. Está nominada a 10 premios de la Academia y se llama 1917, dirigida por el director Sam Mendes. Vamos a comenzar viendo un avance de la película y nos metemos de lleno con el contenido de esta edición especial.
Blake. Pick a man, bring your kit.
I hoped today might be a good day. Hope is a dangerous thing.
You have a brother in the 2nd Battalion.
Yes, sir.
They're walking into a trap. Your orders are to deliver a message, calling off tomorrow morning's attack. If you fail, it will be a massacre.
Let's talk about this for a minute.
Why?
We've got orders to cross here.
That is the German front line.
Hold back! If we're not clever about this, no one will get to your brother. I will.
There's only one way this ends. Last man standing.
I'm going back to see my father.
We need to keep moving! Come on!
I'm going there, no more to run.
We can't possibly make it that way, man! You bloody insane!
If you don't get there in time, we will lose 1,600 men. Your brother among them. Good luck.
Y en esta edición especial de Detrás de Escena vamos a disfrutar de la palabra de sus protagonistas y también sus realizadores y el director Sam Mendes. La película 1917 que llegó el pasado jueves a las salas de la República Argentina.
The First World War starts with literally horses and carriages and ends with tanks. So it's the moment where modern war, you could argue, begins. From the very beginning, I felt this movie should be told in real time. Every step of the journey, breathing every breath with these men, felt integral. And there is no better way to telling the story than with one continuous shot.
3, 2, 1, go, go!
From the first moment I talked to Sam about the idea of it as a one-shot movie, I knew it was going to be really immersive.
It's meant to make you feel that you are in the trenches with these characters.
The film in itself is a slice of time. These two young men get sent on a mission to deliver a message to stop an attack.
Action!
So they've got to cross into enemy territory on a race against time to deliver a message that will save 1,600 lives.
And the camera never ever comes away from the two characters.
There's always that sort of get-out-of-jail card that you have with the movie. Well, you know, we might be able to cut around this, or we might take that scene out. That's not possible on this film. The dance of the camera and the mechanics all have to be in sync with what the actor's doing. When you achieve that, it's really beautiful and exhilarating. Sometimes you have a camera being carried by an operator, hooked onto a wire. The wire carries it across more land, and it's unhooked again. That operator runs with it, then steps onto a small jeep, which carries him another 400 yards, and he steps off it again and goes round a corner.
Let's go back to one.
This film does not take place in a series of interiors. This is endless exteriors. No location ever repeats, so you're constantly moving through landscapes.
Being such an exterior movie, we're very dependent on the light and the weather. And we kind of realized, well, for a start, you can't really light it.
Action.
Because, you know, if you were running down a trench and turning around 360 degrees, there's nowhere to put a light anywhere. And because we were shooting in story order, we have to shoot in cloud to get the continuity from scene to scene. So some mornings, the sun would be out and we couldn't shoot. So we would rehearse.
And we're rehearsing.
And then we'd be waiting around, everyone with their eyes up in the sky, trying to see how long it'd take for the sun to move behind the cloud.
And as soon as it comes over, you've got this 5-minute window.
Everyone would be like, come on, go, go, go.
Go, go, go!
So you are also in the lap of the gods.
It's like a piece of theatre every take. Once it starts, it can't stop. If something goes wrong, you just have to keep going.
Until you actually see it on a screen, you don't really realize how immersive it is and how that technique kind of draws you into it.
For me, engagement is very important. And that is behind the way in which we've decided to shoot this film. I wanted people to understand how difficult it was for these men. And the nature of that is behind everything.
You have a brother in the 2nd Battalion.
Yes, sir.
They're walking into a trap. If you don't deliver a message calling off tomorrow's attack, we will lose 1,600 men, your brother among them. Good luck.
Y en estos 30 minutos estamos disfrutando un detrás de cámara de lo que es el estreno de la semana 1917. Cuenta con 10 nominaciones a los premios de la Academia y es una de las favoritas para llevarse la estatuilla a la mejor película. Quédate ahí, vamos a un corte, ya regresamos.
It started out like any other trip home. At first, it seemed just like the usual frustrations.
Hey, I want to play the game. It's a video, Mum.
Oops, sorry. How much longer? Don't worry, we'll be home in no time.
Oh, no. Oh, that's enough. I spy with my little eye something beginning with...
What?
Well!
So close.
All right, that's it. I'm taking the scenic route.
Oh, no, not a dad detour.
You do know the way, don't you, lovely?
But that's when things got a bit odd.
It's probably just roadworks.
Oh,
And that was just the start.
oh, no, don't do that.
Oh.
Sorry, I can see.
Okay.
Ah, there's our house.
So ready for home.
Why is it so quiet? Huh. I didn't think the Joneses were away.
Home safe.
Thanks, Dad.
Finally.
Right then, you unpack. I'm going to get the kettle on for all of us.
Okay, buddy. Let's get you inside.
Dad? What's that noise?
Guys, it's okay. It's okay.
Where's my face?
We can't change the past.
But we can demand a better future. Protect the oceans.
Y vamos a continuar con esta edición especial de Detrás de Escena con la película 1917. En el primer bloque pudiste ver apenas una síntesis de la trama contada por sus realizadores, su director Sam Mendes y también los protagonistas. Pero en este segundo bloque quedan 15 minutos con un material exclusivo único con entrevistas con Sam Mendes, una muy entrevista completa. También tenemos al director de fotografía Roger Deakins y los protagonistas del film. De esta forma comenzamos 15 minutos de 1917.
My grandfather was the inspiration for this movie. He fought in the First World War from 1916 to 1918. He arrived as a 17-year-old. He told us many stories when I was maybe 10, 11, 12 years old. And for whatever reason, I've never forgotten them. And he told us one particular story about carrying a message through no man's land that wouldn't let me go. I felt it was a story I had to tell. So I took that very small fragment and enlarged it, developed it, and turned the journey into a much longer journey. And then I felt it was the best way to tell the story was to tell it in real time, you know, to follow him every step of the way. And then we came up with a friend that he was traveling with, and it grew from there, really.
Probably when he gets to that.
I decided to shoot it in one because I didn't want the audience to be able to escape. I wanted them to be experiencing every second of the journey with the men, every footstep, every 100 yards. I wanted them to feel getting closer and closer and closer, and I didn't want to feel like there was any escape. And I suppose there was the biggest challenge was that in film, one of the nice things about movies is that you don't have to make some of the big decisions until after you finish filming. You know, editing, it's nice and calm, you got a cup of coffee, you can try this version of the scene and that version of the scene, you can cut a scene entirely, you can put a scene in a different place, all of those things, and that's fun. It's my favourite part of filmmaking, and in this movie it didn't happen. I had to make all those decisions while we were shooting. Rhythm, pace, tempo, everything had to be exactly right before I could move on. And so, you know, it was hard, but very rewarding. No, my way to direct actors is always the same. Is every actor is different, and every actor needs something different from the director. But I wanted two unknown or relative unknown actors because I wanted the audience to have a new relationship with them. And I didn't want the audience to guess who might live or who might die, who was the hero, who wasn't the hero. And I wanted to give them the feeling that these two men were just two amongst 5 million, just two ordinary soldiers. So in that respect, you know, we rehearsed a lot. One of the challenges was we couldn't build a set until we'd rehearsed the scene first, so we had to judge the distance between everything, exactly how long wood would be, or a orchard, or a road, or a river. We had to judge distance before we could even start designing it. So it was very, very time consuming, but it meant that the actors were rehearsing for months, and in that process they kind of became the two characters, and the experience of shooting it was more like living it than acting it. Please don't watch this movie on your phone. Please don't watch it on your computer screen. Don't even watch it on your television screen. Please come to the cinema to see it, because the image is not the only immersive thing about it. The sound, the music, it's designed as an experience as much as a movie. So I really hope you take the risk and come out and watch it with your friends or your family or just strangers, because that's how I imagined it.
Until you actually see it on a screen, and the shots are joined together as though it's one, you don't really realize how immersive it is, and how that technique kind of draws you into it, and how you're not really aware that it's one shot. And that was what was surprising to me. That I'm watching the film the other day. After a while, you're just not aware it's a single shot. You're just completely drawn in. And it's almost like it's a magnet or something, the fact it is one shot. Because in a way, cuts are often disruptive, even though they're not meant to be. That you are aware of a cut, but here not. It's almost more claustrophobic in a way. You've got no way out. There's no sudden wide shot. You know what I mean? It's like, boom, you're drawn into it, and it's like grabbed you from the start. It's really interesting. The challenge of the technique of doing it in one shot is sometimes you felt you needed to see the environment, but most of the time it's a very personal story, and you wanted to be kind of intimate with the characters. So it was a balance finding that, and I think we found it very early on discussing the look and doing sketches and having a storyboard artist do different versions, and just gradually working out how far can we go in terms of how do we get to a wide shot? Is that too self-conscious? How do we move around to see the environment? How can we intensify the moment with a camera movement, but not make it too ostentatious, if you like, I think it was a balance, because we didn't want to do anything where you're just behind the characters following them all the time, which, scarily that's what maybe your first thought of the story is. Okay, I'm following these two guys and we're just following them behind or in front, and that's it. I had to find ways of making it much more descriptive. We had a 4-point wire system that takes the camera across the bridge with George. As he gets to the other side, the camera is then lowered on the wire, but then the grips take the camera off that wire, because what's actually on the wire is a gimbal system rigged on a piece of pipe. And then so the grips take that off the wire system, and then they physically run with the camera behind the actor to the lockhouse, and the whole thing is remotely operated. I control it on remote wheels to get the continuity from shot to shot, or piece to piece. I said, well, I'm afraid we're going to have to shoot the whole thing in cloud, which is like, I know it's Britain, but I mean, even so, it's the time of the year. If it had been last year, we'd have been totally screwed. I mean, I had sun for like 2 months. But in terms of just getting that flow of the image, it needed to be cloud, but also because I wasn't lighting, I felt it needed to be cloud. You can't, if you were running down a trench and turning around 360 degrees, there's nowhere to put a reflector even, nothing. So, yeah, none of the exteriors we had light on.
Two guys are given a message, and there is a time element to that message. Yeah, that's really, it's a really simple conceit. Yeah, two people have got to get to a place before a certain time, but no matter what, and things happen to them on the way, and that's it. And the film in itself, because of that, is a slice of time. It's 2 hours out of life. And it's a life that you sort of see kind of not necessarily through Schofield's eyes, but you know, you're attached to him within that 2 hours. And that's what I think is so beautiful about the script, and I hope comes across in the final piece.
Me and George, we went out to France and Belgium, and there's so much on World War I out there, you know. As we looked at memorials, museums, some preserved trenches that we actually walked through, and I look back on that trip now, and it was really, I gained so much from that, and it definitely gave us all this sense, an idea of what it was all about to be. And I also read a book called The Western Front Diaries, and it's just snippets of soldiers' diaries in this book. And actually my great-granddad he had a diary entry in that book, and he talked a little bit about how he went into no man's land and he got shot through the hip and he was paralysed, and he laid out there for 4 days and survived. So I read that book pretty much every day before I walked onto set, just to sort of get me in the, you know, the zone.
We went to Bovingdon, which is where we built the set of trenches which you kind of arrive in first in the story, and it was an empty airfield where there's a market sometimes, and we literally, Sam himself had walked through with the script and sort of paced out the dialogue to kind of give a rough shape of what he thought it would be like, and then Dean and I basically did that, read the scene with script in hand and kind of go, okay, I think broadly it's this far, and then we should, you know, we'll get to the corner about here, and we'd mark that out, and then there would be you know, Roger and Sam would be deciding at what point they want the camera to go from front to back, perhaps. And so then you have to kind of work out a legitimate reason to give room for the camera.
This film is being shot, you know, all one camera, and every scene is one long take. And as an actor, that is such a privilege and really an advantage, because it really allows you to just throw yourself into the scene. And there were so many scenes that I just completely got lost in, and when they'd call cut, I would completely forget who I was, and I was Blake, you know. And there were scenes that sometimes were 6 minutes long, you know, and doing that was a real honour, and I learned so much about the character, about me, and a lot about filmmaking.
To take in this atrocious mess that is no man's land, and these angry sort of barbed wire spikes, all just this kind of mess of this really violent image when you sort of raise your head over. I remember being really struck by that, and kind of getting a sense of what they would be feeling as well, of like, we've got to go through that. And that's also, having done all the research and everything, and you sort of understanding, and then it wasn't until you physically saw it, there was this kind of hopeless realisation of like, they were sending men over through that.
Blake is a Lance Corporal. He hasn't had much experience with war at all. He's only recently just been deployed there. And he has a friend, Schofield, and one day, the point where our story starts off is they get sent on a mission to deliver a message to stop an attack on the Germans. And it's not just a mission to Blake, it's more of a personal mission, because his brother is a part of the attack and he doesn't want to lose his brother. And Blake, throughout the whole film, is He's constantly reminded about his family and his brother and missing home, and his desperation keeps him fighting on throughout the whole film. And they get into these terrible, scary situations in World War I that every 2 seconds they don't know what's around the corner.
The cast that Sam and Nina have assembled for this is it's really amazing. And I think a credit to the script that Sam and Christy have written, that they wanted to come and be a part of it. But it's been great to kind of watch people come in for a couple of days here and there and watch them do their thing and how it differs, and that how they slot into something, you know, the kind of vibe that we've got up and running, but then also how these kind of top professionals bring their skill set to it. I hope they're thrilled by it. I hope they're moved. I hope it makes them think of the people that they love, and the sort of, I guess, the massiveness of what everyone can achieve.
I hope audience enjoy the film, obviously, and I hope it teaches people, just like it's taught me, about World War I. People that don't know a lot about World War I, I hope it gives them a good insight. I hope it teaches them about the sort of generation they were, and to keep their memory and to never forget these soldiers, because, you know, they really did fight.
You have a brother in the 2nd Battalion.
Yes, sir.
They're walking into a trap. If you don't deliver a message calling off tomorrow's attack, we will lose 1,600 men, your brother among them. Good luck.
Y de esta forma estamos llegando al desenlace de esta edición especial de En Cartelera, con un detrás de escena de la película estreno de la semana 1917. Por supuesto, quédate con toda la programación de Canal C. Nosotros nos encontramos en 7 días. Hasta la próxima.
There's only one way this war ends. Last man standing.
What the hell are you doing, Lance Corporal? No! No! No!
If you fail, it will be a massacre.